Israel said on Saturday morning that its troops sent in on Friday night were still in the field without elaborating further. The country had earlier made only brief sorties into Gaza during 3 weeks of bombardment to root out Hamas militants who, as we said, had killed 1,400 Israelis on October 7. Multiple explosions were also seen in Gaza on Saturday morning with thick plumes of smoke rising above buildings. The Israeli military said that it had entered northern Gaza overnight and expanded military operations with infantry and armored corps in the besieged Palestinian enclave as it steps up its assault on the Hamas militant group. The military spokesperson, Daniel Hagari, said Israeli forces were still in the field without elaborating, and Hamas pledged to confront Israeli attacks with full force after Israel's military widened its air and ground attacks on the Palestinian enclave, suggesting on Saturday that a long-promised ground offensive had begun. But Gaza was under an almost complete blackout, with internet and phone services cut off for more than 12 hours. That was Saturday morning as the reports came in. But telecom firms and Palestinian Red Crescent Society said that the blackout was the result of Israeli bombardments. The head of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said that the blackout was making it impossible for ambulances to reach the injured as well in Gaza. Israel's military has told the international news agency Reuters and AFP as well that it cannot guarantee the safety of their journalists operating in the Gaza area. This is under Israeli bombardment and siege for almost 3 weeks. The IDF's latest letter stated that it is targeting all Hamas military activity throughout Gaza and that Hamas deliberately puts military operations in the vicinity of journalists and civilians. Notably, on Wednesday, an Al Jazeera journalist lost his family in Israeli airstrike. The IDF also noted that its high-intensity strikes on Hamas targets could cause damage to surrounding buildings and that Hamas rockets could also misfire and kill people inside Gaza. Well, dozens, drones, the explosions seem to have rocked 2 Egyptian towns as well, including 6 people, where the Israeli army has blamed Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi for this strike. Israel's foreign ministry said that Houthis launched drones with missiles with the intention of harming Israel. The twin explosions have raised fears of a spillover of the Israel-Hamas war. And meanwhile, Israel's military also said that it had stopped a surface-to-air missile fired from Lebanon at one of its drones, and the Lebanese authorities issued precautionary guidance in case it had to evacuate Beirut airport as tensions in the border climb. Amrit Pal Singh is now joining us with more on these stories from Jerusalem. Amrit, in fact, he's at the Israel-Lebanon border. After the UNGA resolution, is there any pressure on Israel to use more targeted airstrikes than this ground invasion that they are seeming to proceed with?
Okay, Mark, before I answer your question, let me first get out of the frame and show you where I am. I am right now at the Lebanon border, Israel's border with Lebanon. The smoke that you see behind me is a missile has just been fired by Hezbollah into the Lebanon territory. What you see, or that wall that you see, is the other side is Lebanon, where Hezbollah is based and is constantly firing missiles and rockets. They had warned that if the Israeli army goes in for a ground operation or a ground assault inside the Gaza Strip, they will they will jump in the war, and they are true to their word. They have started increasingly firing rockets and missiles. As you said, a surface-to-air missile which was fired and intercepted just minutes before we are speaking. A missile was fired, and you can see the smoke of that. This village is called, this is the last village on the Israeli Israeli side of the Lebanon border called Shalomi. If I can ask my cameraman to show you the village has been completely evacuated. It has become a ghost town. That hill that you see, that part is Lebanon.
Right.
So it is that close. It is the last village on the Israeli side, Mark. And you know, now the threat, as the Israeli army has gone inside the Gaza Strip, though in a limited manner, they have not revealed as much about details about how many troops have gone in, but they've confirmed that they are. It's unlike the localized raids that happened yesterday and day before, where they went in, did a targeted operation and came out. But in this case, they are still there and fighting the Hamas. So Hezbollah has increased its missile attacks and rocket attacks. It remains to be seen, will they open a full-fledged war front, because the leader of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the top leadership of Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad had met in Beirut a couple of days back, and they had said, they had vowed that they would fight together to what they call victory of the resistance. So clearly the telltale signs right now are that the threat of regional escalation looms large, and that is why you see the increased diplomacy, heightened diplomacy trying to prevent the regional escalation, Mark.
So clearly it's becoming a multi-pronged war, but you know, Israel claims to have eliminated quite a few of the Hamas commanders already, air, sea and land at various levels. And now, of course, that may be one of the reasons why Hezbollah has also entered in a much stronger way. Has Israel got, you know, a number in mind when they want to achieve their military objective?
Well, as if you read, listen to Benjamin Netanyahu and the defense minister Yoav Gallant, both of them say it is going to be a long-drawn battle, because the fact is that through aerial bombings and through tanks you cannot finish Hamas, because there is a wide network of tunnels inside the Gaza Strip, 1,300 tunnels, 500 kilometers of tunnels, some of them opening both in Israel and in Egypt. And now the IDF is saying that the Hamas has gotten into the tunnels. So they have to figure out a way where they get into close combat with them. We are hearing that they could use gas to flush them out, poisonous gas to flush them out of the tunnels. And once they are overground, then get into close combat to kill them. So that is what the military strategy of Israel is. But that is going to take time. Also, what would be weighing on Benjamin Netanyahu, if not the IDF's mind, is to keep the civilian casualties at the minimum, because the guerrilla fighters of Hamas would be blending in with the civilians. Israel's been talking about that for a very long time, saying that they would use the innocent Gazans and civilians as human shields, and in that case, there will be a lot of collateral damage. So that would lead to a lot of international pressure. So they would want to minimize that. So for that to happen, to go for specific intelligence and go for specific surgical strikes, it is going to be long drawn out, but it could completely depend whether it escalates into a regional conflict, because the Houthis from Yemen have also started hitting them, though they haven't been able to hit Israel. They hit a target in Egypt, and so for the second time. So if this escalates, then the war strategy would completely be different. But right now, the war strategy would be work on specific intelligence, go in for surgical raids, try and kill as much of Hamas leadership as they can.
Yes, Amrit, but be that as it may, you know, the war has also revived the public interest in the Palestinian right to self-determination. Are you safe there? If you aren't, then we can wind up this conversation.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. You know, the public interest in the Palestinian right for self-determination, that interest has also come into the public domain now, and that's also what the UNGA was looking at. But, you know, the ground offensive is also likely to be met by a lot of backlash by ordinary civilians. How is the IDF trying to work this out? Because, I mean, on the ground, they can't identify who is going to be Hamas or who is going to be, you know, terrorists if the ordinary civilian is against them.
Very true. That is the challenge that the IDF faces. You know, the numbers of Hamas are being at the maximum put to 40,000. There are 2.3 million or 2.4 million people in the Gaza Strip alone. I'm not talking about West Bank. Gaza Strip alone, there are 2.4 million. How do you differentiate? Because many of them may not have picked up the gun till now, may not be Hamas, but could be sympathizers or could agree with the ideology of Hamas. If they go in and if children, women, all that starts happening, they start dying, hospitals start getting bombed, because Netanyahu has said that the Hamas is operating from hospital bases. They could pick up the gun. Now the numbers could rise. So that is a very big challenge for the IDF, to see that while they win, they try and achieve their military objective, but their ground assault does not become a counterproductive strategy for them, because then it will become really drawn out. And how would they handle, how would Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet handle the international pressure once that place, all those visuals start playing on TV screens and social media around the world? In fact, what they did this morning was they cut off the mobile connectivity and the internet connectivity, so that videos don't pass here and there. So they're basically, for a lot of, in war, a lot of casualties take place. Many of them are horrific to see, as horrific as the October 7th attacks. But the sympathy with Israel after the October 7th attacks may turn on its head.
Absolutely.
And once those visuals start playing out, they're already, and so they're trying to contain that in the information warfare, Mark.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Amrit Pal Singh, for that comprehensive coverage. He's at the Lebanon border with Israel.